Hello, friends. I'm a couple days late here for our November Tarotscope. It's been honestly just a little bit difficult to sit down and record something like this when there's still an active genocide happening in Gaza, and it's just a lot to consume. And so, if you have been staying engaged and keeping your eyes on what's happening, I hope you are doing okay, and thank you for staying engaged. It's really important for us right now to keep our eyes on what's important while also taking care of ourselves so that we can show up to the best of our ability. Gratitude to you if you are continuing to stay engaged and to not allow the news cycle to kind of end your engagement with what is an ongoing crisis. I want to jump straight into our reading today. We're going to be looking at, as usual, at the overall energy of the month of November. We'll look at a challenge that we're facing this month and a gift that's available to us. I did decide to roll the astro dice for this reading to get kind of a clue into the overall theme, and I got the third house, Libra, and Mercury. And so there's a real energy of communication here. The third house is, yes, connected to the mind, to communication, to learning and education, and it's also connected to our local community. And so the feeling I'm getting with Mercury being here, which is connected to the mind, to processing, thinking, learning, speaking, and Libra, which is a very communicative and relational sign, I'm feeling like there's an important emphasis on us engaging with our local community. And so that might look like on the ground activism. That might look like just building connections with people in your locality. And if you've been focusing a lot on sort of, global news, trying to identify ways that getting active in your local community can support global activism too. So one example is like, if you lean more leftist, maybe it's looking up your local DSA chapter and seeing if there's a way that you can start getting involved with any of the efforts that they're doing. Maybe this looks like protesting, showing up to march. Maybe this looks like mutual aid, supporting people in your area, supporting Palestinian people in your area. It could also just look like book clubs. It could look like rounding people up to talk about what's happening, because those local, on the ground, offline connections are going to be really important the further and further we get into an age that demands we remember how to create change on a material level instead of just staying stuck in the mind and staying stuck online. So to get into the cards, for the overall energy, we have the Knight of Wands. So there is this energy of surging forward, of pushing forward with energy and vitality and motivation and maybe inspiration. This could look like a creative project. It could look like activism. It could look like getting involved in some way and sort of picking up the torch and deciding to run forward with it. This card speaks to me of bold action. So this doesn't necessarily have to show up in the way that I've just described. It could show up more so like maybe you are being more bold with your communication in general. Maybe it means speaking up for yourself. Maybe it means advocating for yourself or for other people. I'm very burpy right now. I'm not sure why. In general, it feels like we are seizing power and we're recognizing our personal power, our ability to take something and run with it. And so for a lot of us, this is going to be creative. Wands are inherently creative, generative energy, the spark of fire, the flame. And I just came off of doing some fire scrying. So for some of you, that might be relevant. There might be this maybe interest or curiosity about fire scrying. I would go look it up if you're not familiar. If you're already someone who practices that, maybe it's tuning in more. I'm really drawn to, on this card, the blackness of the horse's eyes. There is something we need to be mindful of here about shadow and not rushing forward and taking steps that are motivated by shadow material that we haven't yet healed and integrated. So, this is a call to check your motivations. The Knight of Wands can be brazen. The Knight of Wands can be a figure that is catapulted forward by the ego instead of by the heart or by the higher mind. And so there is this invitation here to just be thoughtful. I'm also called to the fact that the figure who's riding the horse in this card has like spikes on their shoulders. And something actually came through for me when I was doing my own reading about protecting the shoulders. So that could be literal for some of you. It could be that you're actually like needing to be more thoughtful about the pressure and weight that you're putting on your shoulders, or maybe it's the way that you're sleeping. Or maybe there's a call to come into the shoulders and sort of identify the way that your power lives there too. Think about all of the pressure and weight that shoulders carry. We often like hang things on our shoulders, and we really depend on our shoulders to carry a little weight, to help us like mobilize our arms, and in that take action. And so there's some type of metaphor coming here about the shoulders and how thinking about like protecting the vital parts of us that help us to take action and that carry burdens. And maybe there's some unburdening that needs to happen this month. Maybe it's that we're carrying too much weight on our shoulders and we need to release some of those burdens so that we can get back to what really matters. So again, that's probably metaphorical or like symbolic for most of us. It's like, what emotional burdens and baggage are we carrying that we can lay to rest this month? We are in Scorpio season for the first few weeks of November. And so this is a really beautiful time to practice letting go, especially since Sag season often does call on us to kind of push forward with more energy, and it's guiding us into the holiday season for many of us. And so there is a lot of activity during Sag season typically. But Scorpio season is a time of preparation and release. And so think about what you can release. And maybe that's through your words. Maybe that's writing down outdated beliefs about yourself and burning them. And that could be a way to involve fire too. Do it safely, please, with a fire safe bowl. Our challenge this month is the Page of Pentacles. So there is some type of material opportunity that we're kind of aching to push forward, but that we might have a little bit of trouble kind of like nudging ahead this month. This figure in the card feels like they're setting out on some type of journey. And so for some of you, it could be literal travel this month. I don't typically associate travel with this card, but it just feels right today. And with the Knight of Wands too, there's a lot of motion and movement. But the Page of Pentacles might look like a new work opportunity, a new collaboration, a project. It might look like a financial investment, or some type of like even on the ground action, like activism that we're trying to initiate. I'm hearing for a lot of you, this could be like a writing project or something that you're trying to initiate. And there's just a little bit of like the moment when you start pushing a boulder up the hill and you're stationary, and how that's the hardest part because you haven't yet found your motion. You haven't yet found your momentum. And so in that initial period, it feels a lot heavier. And there come the shoulders again. So please be careful with your shoulders this month. And she's wearing a backpack. So a lot of stuff here. And then I'll get to the next card, which also depicts the shoulders. Some of you might want to wear like a heated bag, you know, like the little bean bags that you can heat up, you can microwave them. You might want to put, what is it, like tiger's balm on your shoulders, or some type of oil or CBD or something that can help relieve tension, because I do feel like we're storing a lot of tension in our shoulders this month. Be careful with heavy bags, be careful with backpacks. Try to reduce physical weight and emotional weight as much as possible. But back to the Page of Pentacles, when you're pushing a boulder up the hill again, it's that immediate push that feels the heaviest and the hardest. And so it's like getting something started is often hard, but then you have to remember that once you get your momentum, it gets a lot easier. And so don't back down, because if you back down and you let go, that boulder is going to roll over you. Okay. So just try to be strong and courageous and and optimistic in the face of any challenges that you might experience when you just begin a new project or a new venture or whatever it is. Finally, our gift this month is beautiful. It is the Devil in reverse. I'm not going to hold it up close to the screen because there's nudity on this card and I don't want to get YouTube canceled. But these figures have chains that are around their necks, hanging over their shoulders, and it's keeping them chained to this like cinder block in the center, which is controlled by the devil. And the devil often speaks to attachments. It can speak to addictions, to compulsions, to things that keep a really tight grip on our soul. And sometimes our bodies too. These can be like material or like substance challenges and being tied to a habit, being tied to a substance, tied to a person. And so seeing this in the reverse means that we're freeing ourselves of this. There is something we've been attached to potentially for a long time. I'm hearing actually like 15 months for some of us. There could be something we've been really tied up in, stuck in. For some of us, it's like an addiction to drama. It's an addiction to chaos. It's an addiction to that sort of emotional experience of upheaval. And we're needing to free ourselves of it so that we can move into calmer waters, so that we can surge ahead with more optimism, more joy, potentially, and more motivation and inspiration. And so this brings me back to the shadow work that I mentioned before. This is checking in with ourselves and really asking before we make big choices or take actions, especially if they're on the riskier side, where am I moving from? What feelings are below this choice or this behavior? And is there something that I'm not looking at honestly because I feel like I would rather just like take action and ignore what's going on within me and just see what happens. Maybe this will get rid of it. Maybe this will make me feel better, etc. So really a call to be honest with yourself and to kind of get right with yourself. And that might mean going into silence. That might mean taking time with your journal. That might mean speaking with a friend or a therapist or whatever. Just talking to yourself, talking to your voice notes app, and kind of speaking aloud what's going on for you and what's coming up. And if you have kind of a weird thought or a weird feeling surface in those moments of pause and reflection, try to just put words to it. Instead of backing down, instead of trying to cover up, try to just acknowledge it. Because often in acknowledging it, we take away the power. We take away the power that this belief, thought, fear has over us, and suddenly we see solutions. All right, that is all I have. If you're interested in a personal reading, you can find the link in the description box of this video via Linktree after recorded and live readings, tarot, Akashic Records, and astrology. I'm going to be rolling out year ahead readings in the next 48 hours. So get on my email list below because I will have a promotion for people who sign up. The first 5 people to book a reading will get a discount. So again, join my newsletter. It's the only place that's going to be announced. And finally, if this video is helpful to you, please do like, comment, subscribe, share it around. It really, really helps as I'm trying to build this channel and make my little difference in this world. Thank you so much. Take care.